You have to wonder what goes through the minds of the people who work in think tanks. Take Dr. Charlotte Refsu, who is the spokesperson for the Tony Blair Institute's current attack on sick and disabled people. This organisation has decided that depression that is mild, however that may be defined, along with chronic back pain and other conditions are non-work limiting, meaning its so-called experts like Dr. Refsu think that people in agony because of the condition of their back are perfectly able to do a hard day's physical work. Oh wait, are they saying that such people can work if employers fit adaptations allowing them to do so? How does that, forgive me, work? Are people with back problems only supposed to do sitting jobs? Or are they supposed to wear the kind of exoskeletons we only see in science fiction movies? Because they don't exist in real life. Are people with depression supposed to do only work that reinforces a positive outlook on life? If so, I've got bad news for Dr. Refsu. Insecure work conditions, stagnant wages, and rising in-work poverty in the modern workplace correlate strongly with mental illness, chronic stress, and long-term ill health conditions. And trying to push people with depression off benefit and into work that can only harm them further can only do even more harm to their mental health. I remember when the former Mrs. Mike was first transferred from incapacity benefit onto employment and support allowance back in the early 2010s. She was put in the so-called work-related activity group, whose members had a year at maximum to get better and find a job. There was a problem with this. She has a condition that will never get better and can only get worse. The privately employed assessor sent to her by the Department for Work and Pensions had made the wrong decision. We discovered this when she had her first work-related activity interview. The interviewer said she'd been put into the wrong group and needed to appeal, which she did. She had no response from the DWP until her time ran out and she received a letter saying her benefit was being cut off. The former Mrs. Mike suffers from depression that may not be categorized as mild in any way, and this triggered it hugely. Fortunately, I was able to contact the DWP, find out what had happened, which was this: embrace yourself, because this should tell you everything you need to know about how utterly abominable the UK's benefits system really is. On receiving the appeal, DWP officials had put a notice on her file saying that she was not to be contacted under any circumstances at all until her claim ran out. They ignored it and made sure they would continue to ignore her until they could throw her off benefit. Obviously that changed when someone with an audience of many thousands of people, as I had at the time, threatened to blow the whistle. She very soon found herself in the support group, as it was then described, which is not time limited, or wasn't then anyway. But there are many thousands of people out there with life-limiting, let alone work-limiting illnesses who don't have the benefit of somebody like me. If the Tony Blair Institute's recommendations were put into practice, I have no doubt that many of them would end up in a mortuary at some point afterwards. They would be joining thousands of others who have already suffered a similar fate. We know this because I spent 2 years, around a decade ago, forcing that information out of the DWP. Strangely, we still don't get public information releases on the number of deaths of benefit claimants that have happened after a decision that they were fit to work. Odd that. One would expect that to have been implemented after the fuss over my FOI. One might think these public servants, have something to hide. And that might lead us to wonder, whether the people at the Tony Blair Institute have a different agenda from what they're telling us.